It started with something stupid. You know, one of those harmless moments you forget 5 minutes later. Except this one stuck. I came home early from work. Not planned, my meeting got canceled, traffic was light, and for once, the stars aligned. I thought I'd surprise Kat. Maybe we grab dinner, or just sit on the porch with a bottle of that overpriced wine she loves. Something quiet. Something normal. But she wasn't home. Now, that wasn't that strange. She's a project manager. Her hours were always a little unpredictable. But what was strange was that her laptop and bag were still by the door. Her car was gone, but her work badge still on the kitchen counter. Odd. I called her. No answer. I texted, "Hey, you still at the office? Thought I'd surprise you." Nothing. 2 hours passed. Sun went down. I microwaved leftovers, fed the dog, sat on the couch staring at the screen without hearing a word of the show playing. Around 10:15, I heard her car pull in. She came in smiling, too big, too bright. I could smell a hint of perfume that wasn't hers. Not bad. Just not hers. I asked, "Long day?" She hesitated, just a split second. Then, "Yeah. Meetings ran late. Jenkins is launching that campaign early. Total chaos." Jenkins? She hadn't mentioned him in months. I didn't call her out on it. I just nodded. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I got up to get water and saw her phone lit up on the counter. Notifications. I shouldn't have looked, I know. But I did. And that's when I saw it. "Can't wait for Friday." Same place? From a number not saved in her contacts. Nothing graphic. No names. But the tone? Too casual. Too familiar. I opened the thread. It was locked. She'd locked the conversation. I just stared at the screen. Something in my chest turned cold. Not rage, not yet. Just a silent shift. Like a puzzle that suddenly doesn't fit together anymore. The next morning, I asked her if she wanted to grab breakfast before work. She blinked like she didn't understand the question. "I thought you had that early call?" "I do. Just figured we could do something before everything kicks off." She shook her head. "Can't. I'm covering for Amber. Back-to-back calls all morning." I nodded. But I knew Amber was on leave. She'd said so on Facebook. Family vacation in Colorado. I saw the photos. I didn't say anything. I just smiled, kissed Kat on the cheek, and watched her leave. That moment was the crack. Just a hairline fracture in the surface. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I knew. I didn't have answers yet. But something was off. Something big. And whatever it was, it started ticking the second I picked up her phone. And I wasn't ready. But I wasn't looking away either. You ever get that gut feeling something's not right, but you try to ignore it? Yeah. That was me. For about 4 days. I told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself it could have been a friend texting her. Maybe a coworker joking around. Maybe the locked message thread was some kind of work policy thing. Privacy for clients. There were 1,000 ways to explain it. But none of them felt real. That Thursday, she left the house around 7:30, hair still wet from the shower. She kissed me like everything was fine, like we hadn't been dancing around each other all week. "Big meeting today," she said, grabbing her tote bag. "I might be late." I said, "Okay." Smiled. Let her go. 10 minutes later, I grabbed my keys and followed. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't gonna burst in and make a scene. I just wanted clarity. I needed to see her walk into that office building she claimed to live in these days. Her company had just moved into a big shared workspace off 12th and Harmony. I knew the building. Glass, sharp edges, Too many yoga mat carrying 20-somethings in the lobby. I parked across the street with a coffee and waited. And waited. 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:45. No sign of her. At 9:10 I gave up and walked into the lobby. Asked the front desk if Cat Davis had checked in that morning. The guy looked up from his tablet, scrolled, squinted. "Does she work for Flux Strategies?" he asked. "Yeah." He shook his head. "They don't have anyone by that name checked in yet today." I asked again, different tone. "Maybe she used a different name? Could she have entered another way?" He just shrugged. "Could be. But everyone scans in. Even employees." I walked out into the cold air and just stood there, staring at nothing. "So," she'd lied. "Not just. I work late." "Not just. I'm covering for Amber." This was a logistical lie. A lie with a paper trail. A timestamp. A missing scan. I sat back in my car and stared at the wheel like it would tell me what to do next. Texted her. "Hope your meeting's going well. Want to grab lunch later?" No reply. At 10:42 she wrote back. "Super slammed today. Maybe tomorrow?" The heart at the end, that's what did it. Like putting a cherry on a pile of garbage. That night, she came home at 6:50. Hair done. Makeup refreshed. Not a hint of rush or stress on her. I watched her walk in like she had nothing to hide. "How was work?" I asked. She blinked. "Exhausting. That Jenkins pitch, total disaster. We were in there for 5 straight hours. I'm beat." I looked up from my laptop. 5 hours straight? Yeah. Why? I shook my head. "Just sounds rough." She shrugged. "It's part of the job." That was it. Not a twitch of guilt. No nervous laugh. No misstep. If she was lying, and I knew she was, she'd rehearsed it. Or worse, it came natural. I didn't say anything else. I ate half my dinner. Pretended to be tired. Went upstairs early. She climbed in next to me an hour later like nothing had changed. Rolled toward me, hand on my chest like old times. I froze. I didn't push her away. I didn't say anything. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, counting all the things that didn't make sense anymore. You know what the worst part is? Not the betrayal. Not the lies. It's the way they make you feel like the crazy one. Like you're inventing things. Reading too much into a text. Imagining things that aren't there. But I wasn't imagining. Something had shifted. Quietly. Deeply. And that was the night I knew we weren't okay. Even if she never admitted it, something had already broken. Saturday morning. Sunlight through the kitchen window. Coffee on the stove. And that hollow silence between two people pretending everything's fine. She was scrolling through her phone, smiling at something, probably Instagram stories. I asked casually, "Hey, can I check something on your phone real quick? My app's being weird." She hesitated. Just a blink. But it was there. Sure," she said, half smiling, locking the screen and handing it over. I took it like I wasn't dying inside. Walked calmly upstairs. "Gonna shower." "Okay," she said, already distracted again. I locked the bathroom door. Sat on the edge of the tub. And opened the damn thing. I didn't go through texts first. No, I knew better. Texts get deleted. I went to photos. Albums recently deleted. There it was. A hidden album. iPhone's little vault of secrets. Hundreds of images. Her. In outfits I'd never seen. In poses I never asked for. In places she told me she'd never been. Then I checked WhatsApp. Thread after thread with a contact saved under a fake name. Danielle W. Except Danielle had a beard. And a body that didn't belong to any woman I'd ever met. The messages were graphic. Giddy. Reckless. Voice notes. Her voice, low and breathy, saying things I'll never unhear. A short video of her laughing while lying in the back seat of someone's car. There was one picture of her, taken from above, clearly in a hotel room. The timestamp matched the night she claimed she was at. Jen's birthday dinner. I didn't feel rage. Not yet. Just hollow. Like someone had scooped out my insides and filled me with static. Then came the banging. Ryan? Bang, bang, bang. Open the door! What are you doing? Her voice had gone from playful to panicked in under 10 seconds. I didn't answer. She started twisting the handle. Ryan! Seriously? What are you doing with my phone? I slid down onto the tile, back against the tub. Heart pounding, mouth dry, phone still glowing in my hand. She was yelling now. You're violating my privacy. That's my phone. You don't get to do this. I still said nothing. That's when she started hitting the door full force. Open this damn door right now. She wasn't just scared. She was furious. Cornered. Like a criminal caught mid-theft. But I wasn't done. I opened Google Photos. Sync backups. And there, hidden behind the cloud's false comfort, were even more photos. Videos. Dates. Metadata. It wasn't just one guy. There were at least 3 different faces. Different names. Different hotel backgrounds. Same smile. Same body. Same lies. I didn't cry. I just stared at that screen like it was a window into a version of her I never met. A woman I'd been living beside but didn't truly know. And outside that door, she was still screaming. Ryan, please! Don't do this. You're making it worse. Worse? Worse than this? Eventually she stopped yelling. Just sat down outside the door and started sobbing. I stayed there for nearly 40 minutes, staring at the proof. Every message, every lie, every stupid heart emoji. When I finally unlocked the door, I handed her the phone without looking at her. Then I walked past her, slow, steady, like a man walking out of a burning building with nothing left to save. She reached for me. I flinched. Don't, I said. That was the first word I'd said since I saw the pictures. And in that one word, she finally understood what she'd done. The next few days passed like a fever dream. She acted normal, or tried to. Making coffee like always, humming while folding laundry, texting a little too often. We didn't talk about what I saw. She didn't ask what I knew. I didn't offer. Not yet. Because deep down, I wanted to know how far she'd go if she thought she was still getting away with it. And I wanted the final nail in the coffin to be hers, not mine. So when her phone buzzed Thursday morning with a calendar alert that read, Client dinner, 5 p.m., Sheraton downtown, my instincts kicked in. She never used calendar reminders. She barely knew how. I memorized the location, time, and smiled over breakfast. Late one today? I asked. She blinked, caught off guard. Yeah. Dinner with a client. Might be past 10. MHM, don't wait up, she added, trying to sound casual. I just nodded. Drive safe. I got to the hotel lobby at 4:30. Suit jacket on. Hair combed. I didn't want to look like the sad husband hiding behind a fern. The lounge was quiet, some guy on a laptop, a couple by the bar, bartender wiping glasses. I ordered a drink. Something strong, cheap, forgettable. And I waited. By 5, I'd had 2 whiskeys. By 5:10, she walked in. Alone. Dressed tight. Hair curled just right. Checking her reflection in her phone like a teenager sneaking out. She didn't see me. I was tucked in the corner, behind a column, just far enough to not be obvious but close enough to feel the air shift when she passed. She headed to the reception desk, chatting with the front clerk like they'd done this before. I stood up, walked over calm. She turned, and her face drained. I was standing 2 feet from her. Just us. No yelling. No scene. I leaned in. Just enough so only she could hear. "Good luck on your little trip." Her eyes went wide. She opened her mouth. Maybe to explain. Maybe to lie again. Didn't matter. I turned around and walked out. Didn't wait for a response. Didn't even look back. I could feel her panic rising behind me like heat off asphalt. But I was already gone. Outside, I sat in the car, hands gripping the wheel, breath shaking. But I didn't cry. I just stared at the windshield, heart pounding in a way that felt more like release than rage. She had walked in there without a second thought. Not a flinch. Not a moment of doubt. Which meant she was never going to stop. Not unless she was caught. And now? She was. Not just caught in a lie, but exposed, naked, vulnerable, cornered. And the best part? I didn't yell. I didn't hit. I didn't beg. I let her dig the hole. And then I handed her the shovel and left. That night, she didn't come home. Didn't call. Didn't text. I turned off my phone, sat in silence, and for the first time in weeks, I slept. Not because things were fixed, but because I finally had clarity. The illusion was over. The marriage, maybe not yet. But the lie? Dead. After I walked out of that hotel, I didn't go home. I didn't want to see the kitchen light still on, or her perfume still hanging in the hallway. I didn't want to hear the sound of her keys in the bowl like nothing happened. I needed to breathe. So I drove. Not far, just to Jason's place. My best friend since college. The guy who saw me through dumb heartbreaks and worse decisions. When he opened the door, one look at me and he knew. I didn't even say a word. "Couch is yours," he said, stepping aside. "Beer's in the fridge. Shower's clean. And I won't ask unless you want to talk." God bless men who speak fluent silence. That night, I crashed on his couch like a fallen tree. Didn't even take off my shoes. Just laid there staring at the ceiling fan, spitting and spitting like my thoughts. At 3:17 a.m., my phone started buzzing. It didn't stop. Texts. Missed calls. Voicemails. WhatsApp. Facebook Messenger. Even an old email alert I didn't know still worked. Catherine had gone nuclear. At first it was short. "Please, where are you? Let me explain." Then came the guilt. "I didn't mean for this to happen. You don't understand what I've been going through." Then the begging. "We can fix this. Don't do anything stupid. Talk to me, I'm scared." Then finally, threats disguised as desperation. "At least tell me if you're going to file. I'll tell the truth. Just don't cut me out. You're overreacting. Please come home." I didn't reply to a single one. Instead, I turned off notifications, flipped the phone over, and went back to staring at that ceiling fan. It was the only thing in the world that didn't pretend to care. The next morning, I told Jason everything. From the strange calendar invite, to the hotel lobby, to what I had found in her phone. He didn't interrupt. Just sat there sipping his coffee, nodding slowly. Then finally said, "Time to lawyer up." He was right. This wasn't just betrayal. It was strategic, reckless, and cruel. I found a family law attorney the next day. Her name was Melissa Cho, sharp as a scalpel, cool as steel. I told her everything. And she didn't flinch. "First, you block her on everything," she said. "No contact. Not unless it's court-mandated or through legal counsel." I nodded. "Second, We secure all shared financial accounts. Freeze joint credit cards. Start documenting everything. Screenshots. Messages. Photos. You still have the stuff from her phone? Yep. Emailed it to myself. Good. Back it up again. Twice. She leaned forward, looked me in the eye. You're not just building a case. You're reclaiming your voice. Let's make sure you're heard. I don't know why, but hearing that, it lit something in me. I'd been walking around like a ghost since the night I discovered the truth. Now, I felt like someone had opened a window inside my chest and let in air. Back at Jason's, I shut off every last connection to Catherine. I deleted our thread, blocked her number, muted all apps, even created a new email for legal matters only. And when her name lit up on the screen again, a different number this time, I didn't even flinch. Blocked. Let her scream into the void. Let her panic. I wasn't hers anymore. She might have broken the marriage, but I was the one who ended the silence. And now I was making the first move on my own terms. It started with a text from an unfamiliar number. I was at work, half focused, half faking it, trying to move numbers across a spreadsheet and pretend the floor wasn't constantly shifting beneath me. Then the screen lit up. Ryan, this is Emily, Kat's sister. Please don't block me. I just want to say one thing. I stared at it for a minute. Then, against my better judgment, I opened the thread. She's not okay. I know what she did is inexcusable. But she's spiraling. She quit her job. She doesn't sleep. She's not eating. She says you hate her. She says she ruined everything. And yeah, she did. But Ryan, she's still human. She's broken. I'm worried. I didn't reply. But that message stuck with me the rest of the day. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel rage. I just felt tired. Like someone who's already swum too far from shore to waste energy looking back. Later that night, Jason came home to find me sitting on the porch with a drink. First one in 2 weeks. You all right? I shrugged. Her sister texted. He sat beside me. What did she say? That Kat's not doing well. That she quit her job. That she's unraveling. Jason exhaled through his teeth. You believe it? I shook my head. Doesn't matter if I do. I'm not responsible for her spiral. She climbed up the diving board herself. I'm just the one who stepped out of the splash zone. The next day, it got worse. Kat emailed me. Not a message. A letter. Long, emotional. Unfiltered. She admitted everything. How it started. How it escalated. How it made her feel seen and desired. How the interns flirted with her like she was still 25. How it made her feel young, powerful. And then, how fast it turned. Someone at her office leaked the pictures. Maybe one of those same interns. Maybe someone else. But they spread. And with them, the rumors. She said HR pulled her in. The whispers were everywhere. Her manager started distancing himself. She was told she could resign voluntarily or face a formal investigation. So she quit. She wrote that her world was shattered beyond repair. She wrote that I was the only person who ever really loved her without wanting something in return. She wrote that she hated herself for not seeing that until it was gone. At the bottom of the email, one line. I don't expect forgiveness. But if you ever have a single shred of love left, please don't let this be the last chapter of us. And you know what? For one brief second, I felt something stir. Not love. Not sympathy. But sadness. Not for her, for me. Because somewhere in another timeline, there's a version of our life where this never happened. Where we're just two people getting older together, raising kids, arguing over dinner, laughing over dumb movies, still choosing each other every morning. But that version of us is gone, and she's the one who burned it down. I didn't reply to the email, but I did forward it to my lawyer, just in case. That's the thing about pain. You don't always need revenge. Sometimes silence is the loudest answer. 2 days later, another message, this time from one of her old friends. A woman I never liked. You need to be the bigger person, Ryan. You married her for better or worse. You don't just throw people away when they mess up. I laughed out loud reading that one. Throw people away? She threw me away the second she decided the excitement of being desired by someone else mattered more than honesty, more than loyalty, more than us. You know what the weirdest part is? The deeper I got into the silence, the more peace I started to find. No more noise. No more spinning. Just air. It didn't heal everything, but it gave me a place to breathe. Kat wanted to come back, but I had already closed the door. It didn't happen the way she probably imagined. There was no tearful reunion. No dramatic doorstep scene in the rain. No music swells, and no confessions of love. Just an email. From her. Simple subject line. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. The message was short. For once, Kat didn't try to dress it up. She didn't beg. She didn't bargain. She just said she wanted a second chance, and she was willing to sign whatever terms I chose. That surprised me. I'd expected more pride, more resistance. But maybe she was really at the end of herself. So I sent her a reply. 1 paragraph. If you truly want another chance, these are the terms. I'm not asking. I'm not negotiating. This isn't about getting back together. This is about you proving whether your words mean anything. Then I attached the postnup. It was brutal. Purposefully so. Full division of assets in my favor. She would keep a modest personal allowance, enough to live, nothing more. No claim to alimony. No share of retirement. No ownership of property. Just temporary housing and access to the kids through a structured agreement. She'd also agreed to get a full-time job within 6 months. And, most controversial of all, no physical intimacy. None. The clause was clear. No cohabitation, no romantic obligations, and no expectation of reconciliation. If she violates this space, she forfeits the agreement. In short, if she wanted to stay married, even on paper, it would be on my terms. Terms that made it very clear this was not about romance. This was about me rebuilding peace in my life, and making sure she could never twist her way back into control. She signed it. I got the notarized version back 2 days later. Emily, her sister, later told me Kat cried for hours after reading it, but still signed. Said something like, "If this is what it takes to prove I still love him, I'll do it." That would have meant something years ago. Now, I just felt tired. We met once, in person, to finalize the signatures. Public library, neutral space, no kids. She looked smaller. Like someone who'd shrunk under the weight of her own guilt. She didn't try to hug me. Didn't reach out. Didn't cry. She just looked at me and said softly, "Thank you for not slamming the door completely." I didn't respond. The notary walked us through the final details. I initialed every page. She followed suit. And then we walked out, separately. That was the start of what I now call the cold chapter. Same last name. Same kids. 2 separate lives. She'd show up to pick them up. Polite. Quiet. Careful not to cross any lines. I kept my distance. No shared meals. No family outings. Nothing she could mistake for affection. You know what the hardest part was? Not anger. Not grief. It was watching her try. Watching her show up early to school pickups. Bake cookies for the kids. Send me texts like, "Just thinking of you," or "Hope your meeting went well." All these tiny things, trying to chip away at something that was already gone. I wasn't cruel. I never lashed out. I didn't need to. The silence said everything. Sometimes Jason would ask, "Why not just end it completely? Why leave the door half open?" And I told him the truth. Because I wanted to see if she meant it. Not for her sake, for mine. I needed to know if her remorse was real, or just another performance to keep from losing everything. Kat thought time could fix this. That if she just kept showing up, love would bloom again. But love isn't a light switch. You can't flip it back on after dousing it in gasoline and burning it to the ground. She chose her thrill. Now I chose my peace. 14 months. That's how long we've been living this, whatever it is. Technically, we're still married. Legally, I guess we're a couple. But emotionally? Spiritually? Physically? We're roommates. Roommates with shared history, shared kids, and absolutely nothing else. The postnup changed everything. That was the point, right? I wrote it to protect myself. To build a wall between her and the parts of me she broke. And it worked. She signed it thinking it was a temporary cold front. That if she stayed long enough, loyal, patient, soft-spoken, I'd thaw. But I didn't. I haven't. And every day that passes, I wonder if I ever will. The hardest part isn't the silence. It's the pretending. To the kids. To the neighbors. To family on birthdays and school functions. We put on the performance. The united front. We attend the parent-teacher nights, separately. We alternate who takes them to soccer. Sometimes we show up at the same game and sit on opposite ends of the bleachers, waving awkwardly at the boys like we're divorced cousins at a funeral. I never sit with her. Never look her way more than I have to. Inside the house, we divided everything. She moved into the guest room down the hall. I kept the master bedroom. Even our chores are split. She cooks for the boys during the week. I handle the weekend meals. And we don't talk unless we have to. Logistics, schedules, kid stuff. No small talk. No jokes. No questions about how our day went. The postnup doesn't prohibit conversation, but trust me, you don't need a contract to enforce silence. Still, she tries. That's what surprises me. After all this time, all the distance, she still hasn't given up. Little things. She'll leave coffee for me in the morning. Text to ask how a meeting went. Buy a shirt she saw on sale and thought I'd like. The worst are the evenings. After the boys are in bed and the house goes quiet, she'll sometimes knock on my door. Never loud. Just a soft, almost apologetic knock. I made tea. Thought you might want some. I never say yes. Sometimes I don't even answer. Once, I opened the door, took the tea, nodded, and shut it again. She looked like she wanted to cry. But she didn't. She never cries around me anymore. Not since the hotel. She tries to initiate affection, occasionally. A hand on my arm in the kitchen. A pat on the back when I finish a long phone call. I flinch every time. I don't mean to. But my body doesn't lie the way my face does. She notices. She always notices. And after each failed attempt, she retreats quietly. No fight. No questions. Just silence and guilt hanging in the hallway like a wet coat no one wants to touch. Sometimes I ask myself why I haven't filed yet. Why I let this arrangement go on. I'm not in love with her. I know that. And I'm not punishing her. Not anymore. That part faded months ago. What's left is a kind of numbness. Routine. Structure. The boys are happy, or at least stable. Their grades are solid. Their laughter still fills the house. They haven't asked why Mom and Dad don't hug anymore. Not yet. Her sister Emily visited once last month. Tried to corner me in the garage. She's doing everything she can, Ryan. Doesn't that count for something? I just looked at her. Yeah, I said. It counts for a late game-winning touchdown after the stadium's already empty. Emily sighed. I think she got the message. I'm not angry anymore. I want that to be clear. I'm not angry. Not hurt. Not vengeful. Just done. There's a difference between forgiving someone and letting them back into your heart. I forgave Kat. I just didn't invite her back in. I think she thought time would melt the walls. But the truth is, time's been pouring concrete. Every day she stays, every quiet dinner, every polite good night, from 10 feet apart, it just reinforces the truth. We're not a couple. We're not rebuilding. We're just occupying space. Side by side. Worlds apart. I waited until the boys were asleep. We just finished watching some cartoon they love, and I tucked them in like always. Same routine. Same kisses on the forehead. Same. Good night, buddy. And then I went downstairs, where Kat was washing a few mugs in the sink like nothing had changed. Like we were still two people just managing life. I stood behind her for a second. Then I said it calmly. I want to finalize the divorce. She didn't turn around right away. Just kept scrubbing the same mug over and over. I repeated it. I want to move on. Officially. She froze. Then slowly turned around, water dripping from her fingers, face pale. There was no screaming. No dramatic breakdown. Just one whisper. Please, Ryan. Just don't do this yet. But it was already done. The moment I said it out loud, I felt something inside me settle. Like I'd been holding my breath for over a year, and finally let it go. I wasn't angry. I wasn't out for blood. But I wasn't going to live half dead either. She tried to reason. Said we could try therapy. Said maybe a reset, move away, start over. Even offered to rewrite the postnup. But I just shook my head. We tried. For the boys. For stability. For time. But I've been a ghost in this house. And you know it. She nodded then. Silent tears. That was the first time I'd seen her cry in months. The paperwork moved fast. My lawyer had everything ready. We discussed it months ago, in case the moment came. No fighting. No back and forth. She signed within a week. The only question left, money. She asked, timidly, if I'd be taking half of her remaining investments, the one she started after the postnup. I shook my head. I don't want your money, Kat. I never did. Her eyes widened. Confused. You're serious? I am. But why? I looked at her for a long time before answering. Because I want to leave this marriage clean. You broke the trust, not me. I'm not dragging anything from you, not guilt, not assets. I'm done carrying your choices. We did argue about one thing, though, our son. I wanted full custody. Not out of spite. Not to punish her. I just didn't trust her judgment anymore. Her history, the secrecy, the recklessness, the lies, it all added up to a person who, frankly, hadn't earned a level of responsibility back. She tried to fight it. Said she'd changed. Said she was stable. Said, one mistake shouldn't erase 13 years. I reminded her, it wasn't one mistake. It was hundreds. Strung together, defended, hidden. She went quiet after that. Didn't like hearing the truth spelled out. But she didn't contest it in court. Not really. The judge granted me primary custody. Kat gets weekends and holidays, alternating. We agreed on a transition plan to help our son adjust. Honestly, he's doing okay. Kids are more intuitive than we give them credit for. He already sensed things were off. Now, at least, he has clarity. One house. One rhythm. One parent who isn't pretending. We split the house. Technically, she could have kept it. But I bought out her half. She took a condo across town, smaller, closer to her new job. I didn't ask what she's doing now. She offered to tell me once. I declined. It didn't matter. Her life and mine, they no longer intersect. The final signing was anticlimactic. A gray Tuesday afternoon. Conference room. 2 pens. A lawyer who looked half asleep. When it was done, she asked me if I wanted to grab coffee. I almost laughed. But I didn't. Just looked at her. No. But I wish you peace, Cat. And I hope one day you forgive yourself. She stared at me. Started to say something, but stopped. Instead, she just nodded. And left. On the way back to my car, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel free or empowered or any of those Instagram quote emotions. I just felt calm. Empty, in a clean way. Like I had finally cleared a space inside me where all the noise used to be. That night, I made mac and cheese with hot dogs for dinner. Me and the kid, sitting on the couch, watching a superhero movie. He laughed so hard he spilled his juice. And I laughed too. Not because life was perfect. Not because everything made sense. But because, for the first time in a long time, the house felt real again. Not haunted. I left the same day the papers were signed. Not because I had to. Because I needed to. I packed everything into the old pickup. Tossed a blanket over the box of my son's toys. Set a thermos of coffee on the front seat. Sat down behind the wheel, but didn't start the engine right away. I just sat there, looking at the house where I spent almost 10 years. Where everything started and ended. And you know what? I didn't feel anger. No bitterness. Just relief. I moved to another town. Smaller. Quieter. Trees lining every street, mailboxes on wooden posts. People say, hi, when they pass by, not because they want anything. Just because. I rented a modest little house with a fenced yard. Nothing fancy. But it felt right. The first week, I barely spoke. I cooked. Cleaned. Took my son to school. Walked with him in the park after dinner. He asked about his mom, not with pain, just curiosity. I didn't lie. I told him, Mom lives somewhere else now. But she still loves you. And you'll see her when you want to. He nodded. Didn't press. Kids, they process things differently. Quieter, maybe deeper. I'd be lying if I said I didn't still carry some of it. The betrayal. The nights I sat up wondering how I didn't see it sooner. The shame that I somehow couldn't fix it all. But that's the thing. I stopped trying to fix what someone else broke. That's when healing really started. I got back into shape. Started running again. Nothing fancy. Just a couple miles each morning before the world wakes up. Made friends with a neighbor who owns a bike shop. Helped him repaint his porch. We grab a drink every now and then. Work's been steady. Remote consulting gigs. A couple clients I trust. And for the first time in what feels like forever, I sleep well. Not because everything's perfect, but because it's peaceful. As for her, she stayed behind. Last I heard, she's still struggling to find a stable job. Some of those pictures ended up circulating at her old office. Her name came up in more than one conversation she didn't want it in. She called once. I didn't answer. She wrote a long email about regret, shame, healing. I read it, then archived it. Not because I'm cruel, but because I'm done. One Saturday, my son and I were sitting on a bench at the park. He was showing me something funny on his tablet, laughing with his whole chest. I looked at him, and I mean really looked, and I thought, this is my life now. No lies. No manipulation. Just us moving forward. One honest day at a time. I smiled, handed him his juice box, and leaned back against the bench. Because I finally trust again, not in her, but in myself. And that's more than enough.